This is my favorite genre of woman.
Let's make my water of the day. A little bit of vodka.
A little bit of vodka.
Blueberry liquor.
Blueberry liquor.
A little bit of acai liquor.
Some acai liquor.
Elderflower liquor.
Elderflower liquor.
Cranberry juice.
Of course, we have to have some cranberry juice.
Office Summerfall sparkling sake. Let's go.
Sparkling
Coffee
Summerfall
Tuesday,
sake.
Guys. Some more. A little bit of blueberry syrup. Purple glitter. Mix it very well. Beautiful. I have like 5 meetings today, but this will get me through the day.
Ready to drive. God forbid a woman have hobbies. Unbelievable. Stay hydrated. Yeah. I do love the water talk girlies that like they've got like the long nails and they grab the ice and then they just like mix. It's so there's something I feel safe. Right? You know how like people have like a night light and they feel safe, or like they're like comfort object. You know, maybe you have your nighttime plushie that makes you feel safe, or maybe a nice glass of like milk if you're white to keep you nice and feeling safe. This is me. Like women with long nails and some crazy makeup, and like they just like throwing everything around and they're having a great time and they're so like extra with everything. I feel so safe in their company. It reminds me of the Toy Story scene where he restores Andy. Yeah. Water girlies would never hurt me. They're making potions. All right. I wanted to watch this video with you guys. I don't know how much we can get through, but I want to try and get through it. This really sick D'Angelo video on Starbucks crashing and burning. Fuck Starbucks. Let's go. Yay. Woo, woo, woo. I just want Starbucks to be replaced with a different giant. I would like my Amazon coffee, please. Amazon Basics coffee shop, please and thank you. Please replace Starbucks, Amazon overlords. Bezos, I trust in you to make me mediocre coffee. Anyways, let's watch this.
If I had to sum up today's entire video in a single word, it would be greed. I feel like Starbucks, in the name of greed, has taken a hammer to their reputation, smashed it to a million pieces, and now they're just like, oh no, our stock prices, they're falling. Like, to watch such a big company repeatedly and deliberately cause its own problems while—
I hope he talks about the fact that the new Starbucks CEO lives in, is it LA or Seattle? And he's taking a helicopter to work every morning.
Simultaneously throwing a tantrum and making it seem like it's everybody else's fault is objectively entertaining. I mean, I guess technically nothing is objectively entertaining other than my videos. But seriously, it's gotten so bad that like Starbucks officials are getting called out in interviews. The old CEO is just going on podcasts talking about how mid Starbucks is now. I feel like today's story could only be described as corporate embarrassment. And I, for one, am excited to get into it. But first, welcome. My name is D'Angelo, and I am your professor of ethereal anthropology, which is a very real degree that I definitely do have.
Even though Starbucks, I guess, isn't necessary to boycott for the Palestinian cause because they met demands for their worker violations, the new CEO and the cost kept me away. I mean, here's the thing, right? Just in case anyone is still confused about the stuff regarding Palestine and Starbucks, the TLDR is that some, I think, either unionized workers or workers who wanted to unionize that worked at Starbucks had a rally where it was like, you know, Starbucks Union for Palestine, and all of those workers were fired. And obviously Starbucks did it because they don't want to be associated with that. But that's like good enough for, in my opinion, being complicit with genocide, I guess, or whatever, right? And that's why people want to boycott it, but it's not on the official boycott list, to be very clear. But like also everybody knows the coffee's mid. The reason people go to Starbucks is the same reason people go to McDonald's. You don't go to McDonald's because you're ready for like a 5-course meal. You go to McDonald's because you want the same slop served to your ass. Okay? It's the same thing with coffee. People don't go to Starbucks because the coffee is good. They go because they want to order something that they already know, and they know what they're getting, and it's consistently the same thing. That's why they go there. The consistency is more important than the quality. As long as it's consistently bad, people can deal with it.
Or maybe I'm just broadcasting myself talking in my room like YouTube used to be. And in today's lecture, we're going to see not just how Starbucks is like crashing and burning, but how it represents a broader trend of things going generally horribly wrong within the fast food industry. Because honestly, people are tired. It would literally only take one thing to solve this entire problem, which is offering food at a reasonable price. But as you're going to see, companies would literally rather die. So I'd say this whole story really kicked into high gear when Starbucks announced that they would be hiring a new CEO. Technically, he hasn't even started yet. Like, that's how recently this was announced.
I'm surprised you guys hadn't heard about the helicopter thing. Starbucks' new CEO is under fire for his private jet commute from SoCal to Seattle. Basically, from almost the bottom of the West Coast to the top of the West Coast is his commute because he doesn't want to leave SoCal. So not a helicopter, a private jet, which makes more sense because you need,
But people are already upset with him, and I think I understand why. It's a whole thing. It involves a private jet, but we'll get there when we get there. But out of all the think pieces that came out, What's Wrong with Starbucks by the Wall Street Journal really broke it all down. I think there were a few moments in this article that were kind of cringe, but it served as a fairly decent jumping off point, and it makes it really clear that Starbucks has two main things working against it right now: the prices and the vibes. The vibes are off. There's no other way to put it, but let's start with the prices. So they have these mini interviews with a few Starbucks customers. Starbucks was Dan Palmer's go-to, like the mango dragon fruit refresher that became his drink of choice, except each cup now costs him more than $6. The prices have gone up a lot, said Palmer. It's not a deal in any sense of the word. And I feel like Starbucks was kind of already known for having expensive drinks, but the data is clear. Whether you're going for that mango dragon fruit refresher or just a normal cup of Joe, it's gonna wind up costing you more than ever, no matter what you're picking off the menu. They interviewed this other guy who said he's given up Starbucks entirely due to the price hikes, saving over $100 a month, because Starbucks is, quote, really a luxury now. Now, as for the cringe in the article I was referring to, it's basically...
Maybe I'm like totally Papega or something, but like, hasn't Starbucks always been really expensive? This actually, wait. Actually, I might be wrong. I forget that like cities like New York and LA, they price hike more than other places. Like I remember finding out as a kid that the reason why McDonald's in New York wasn't cheap was because it was in New York and because rent is more expensive. So actually I think I'm used to expensive Starbucks prices because everything is more expensive in New York. But I didn't know that Starbucks was a little bit cheaper. I forget that Starbucks is a little bit cheaper, probably in like the Midwest or something. As far as I can remember, Starbucks has always been $6 a drink. I think outside of like their hot coffee, which is like $4 a drink, which is still a huge price hike.
Right over here. So customers like Mr. Pearl here are making it clear that the prices are the reason that they're not paying for Starbucks. Hence their 6% drop in US orders in their last quarter. But then the Wall Street Journal is low-key trying to blame wages for some reason. Price is part of the problem. Restaurants boosted them as wages, ingredients, and other costs became more expensive, and now they're paying for it. Nothing like those pesky employees and their wages and paying them livable amounts of money to work for us. I'd probably reword this as price is part of the problem. Restaurants boosted them as they crumbled under the weight of their relentless capitalist expansion. But that's probably why I'm on YouTube and not the Wall Street Journal. But no matter who you want to blame, Starbucks is really not doing so hot right now. CNBC tells us that in April, their shares sank so much that they had to reevaluate their forecast. They told investors, we're going to do so good, guys. Just watch. Everyone's going to buy our expensive coffee just like they do every year. But then y'all didn't. And now they're panicking. And desperate times call for desperate measures. Why your Starbucks Frappuccino is now half price. So even just a couple months ago, they were like desperately sending out all these deals, trying to get people back inside the cafe. Wall Street Journal says, for the first time in more than a decade, Starbucks began offering bundles of coffee and breakfast food starting at $5. Keep checking the app all summer for more deals heading your way. Translation, please buy our coffee. Please, for the love of God. Oh my God, please buy the coffee. Please, our investors are going to kill us. Seattle-based Starbucks has long positioned itself as a premium brand with prices to match. A single iced coffee with extra syrups and foams can cost about $10 at full price. How did they even think this was going to be sustainable? $10 for a cup of coffee is just the direct result of hiking these prices up as high as they can get away with. But they have finally capitalized too hard to the point where they are not in fact getting away with it. And like I said earlier in the video, this is not a unique Starbucks problem. This cycle of like raise your prices and then freak out and try to have a bunch of deals is happening all over the fast food industry. This article from The Street shows that like just over the last 5 years, prices are doubling at McDonald's. They're doubling at Taco Bell. Things are almost double at Chick-fil-A, Burger King, Jack in the Box. Actually, okay, Jack in the Box isn't quite as high as everyone else. It's funny because we're trying to blame like ingredient costs and wages, but I just don't feel like the wages have doubled in the last 5 years. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know much about economics. Yeah. Obviously, my degree is in, what did I say it was in this time? Anthropology. But this isn't really just giving me inflation vibes. It more so has we are just going to charge people as much money as humanly possible vibes. And so customers started asking themselves, what if we just followed the deals? So Pizza Hut was like, okay, we have the deals. $7 deal lovers menu. And then Taco Bell was like, no, we have the best deals. Check out our cravings value menu. And McDonald's was like, nah, y'all wish. I'm gonna hit them with the $5 meal deal. Like companies were actually in a race to see who could lower their prices first. Burger King to launch $5 value meal to hit back at McDonald's, says Bloomberg. Americans are cutting back on dining out and fast food chains are rolling out deals to spark demand. Regardless of McDonald's plans, we are moving full speed ahead with our own plans to launch our own $5 value meal before they do. And so this is all rolled into what can be referred to as the value wars, according to Today. And like this is still happening. CNN just now. Subway announces a new price for footlongs as it enters the value menu wars.
I won't lie, Subway did get like so fucked over by their marketing strategy of like $5 footlong a decade ago, because like those prices, that was not sustainable. And now Subway is just known for the $5 footlong and they'll never be able to fix that. And they're just like totally fucked. Like Subway won't exist for forever because they just spent so much time marketing $5 footlong and they can't. People don't want to pay for more than that because in their head, that's what the price point is. I forget the term that they teach you in economics, but basically people have like fixed price point ideas of what something should cost. So if you went to the store and bananas were $10, Michael, you'd be like, dude, I can't spend $10 on a banana. You have in your head like a running price of every item that changes, obviously drastically over time. But generally, oh, this is a good deal, this is a bad deal. And people's price in their brain of what a footlong should cost after the marketing goes $5 and it'll never go back. Ace and a Pink, thank you for the 14 months. They like fucked up so bad with that marketing. So bad. It's like new video games costing $60 for multiple decades now. Yeah.
Couldn't even commit to $5.
Which is crazy because I remember growing up as a kid, $60 for a video game was so expensive. I just like was too poor to buy games. So I just kind of, you know, found it from my friend, the Pirates. And now, as an adult, games are still only like $60, sometimes $70. And I'm like, how has inflation not hit video games at all? It's cool.
Footlongs anymore? Because I guess we have a $7 footlong. I mean, to be fair, Subway sandwiches are like...
It's called value of the dollar. If you have a lot of dollars, $12 bananas are fine. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something completely different. 70 is kind of the standard now. I mean, over the course of 2 decades, a $10 price hike is very minimal. Very minimal. For a luxury good,
so big. But I miss the $5 footlong era. Does anybody remember those commercials where they would like sing it? $5 footlong. That's been stuck in my head for like 15 years. Marketing is terrifying, but deals are temporary and they're not changing the fact that things have gotten way out of hand. Americans are choking on surging fast food prices. I can't justify the expense, one customer says. And the CBS News article has more angry customers. The whole conceit was that you were getting some okay level of food for a low price and you could get it quick. If I'm paying $15 for a burger and fry and drink and it's McDonald's quality, forget about it. I'm going home. But the fast food companies are still trying to blame their employees. Restaurant chains point to rising labor costs as a key factor driving up prices. 22 states raised their minimum wages in January. In California, big chains are now required to pay their workers a minimum wage of $20 an hour. But besides the value meals, aka fast food spots trying to get you hype over the fact that they are offering reasonably priced food, there's some other more experimental tactics they're taking. Surge price.
Sorry, really quick, I want to address something. Physical to digital, and it's still the same price. It sounds like a scam. The cost of a CD is like nothing. It's like 30 cents maybe. The cost of a CD case is like 30 cents. That was never a part of the big problem. The cost of those it's really, 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 really cheap.
Pricing is coming to more menus near you. So this article from the Wall Street Journal is actually about restaurants and how they're borrowing surge pricing. Dozens of restaurant brands use technology to change their...
You still have to think about renting and paying employees to sell it. I mean, you're not necessarily... You have to pay employees to sell it regardless. And CDs take up a very small amount of space. So the shelf space is not as expensive as other goods. Those are Blu-rays, not CDs. Whatever, you get the idea. You get the idea. Shipping is also not that expensive. And usually you're shipping to like Best Buys and GameStops, if those even still fucking exist. When it's so fucking tiny, when the goods are so small, you can store like hundreds of thousands of copies in a pretty small warehouse, like a really small warehouse. So yeah, that's like not a huge concern. That's not a huge concern. At most, maybe like a couple dollars, maybe like $5 to make the DVD, Blu-ray, whatever the fuck. You guys know what I'm trying to talk about. The physical copy of it. And then to ship it, and like on average, I would say that much. Like it's not that big of a deal. Also, yeah, don't forget that Steam still takes like 20% of the sales. Yeah, exactly. Manufacturing of that type of stuff is really cheap. The materials are really cheap. Warehouse storage is not that expensive because each individual item is just so small. So it's not too big of a deal.
Their prices based on demand trends. Dave & Buster's and other chains are dabbling with the tech to help spread out customer visits over.
Oh, and sorry, really quickly. Wait, no, never mind.
Other part of the day, and more importantly, capitalize on rush periods. We're gonna have a dynamic pricing model, so we have the right price at the right time to match the peak demand. And like, dynamic pricing is already a thing with like Uber rides or airlines, but people are reasonably kind of annoyed to see this creeping up into fast food. Increasing the price of something just because more people are using it so you can make more money is so blatant. And so imagine how excited everyone was when Wendy's announced their new AI-powered dynamic pricing menu. As Ars Technica tells us, beginning as early as 2025, Wendy's will begin testing a variety of enhanced features like dynamic pricing, different offerings in certain parts of the day, AI-enabled menu changes, and suggestive selling based on factors such as weather. When this was announced, everybody was flaming them, like even other fast food companies. The only thing surging at Burger King is the fire. We don't believe in charging people more when they're hungry. Free Whopper or Impossible Whopper with $3 purchase in the Burger King app through Friday. And so,
do you guys see like the late stage capitalism, the free French fries in McDonald's that also make you sign away your fucking soul? Huh? No? Ones if you know what I'm talking about, twos if you don't know what I'm talking about.
LB City.
Let me see if I can find it.
So Wendy's had to come out like, no, guys, no.
Basically saying that you can't sue them.
We didn't say surge pricing, we said dynamic pricing. We said our menu boards would give us more flexibility to change the display of featured items. This was misconstrued in some media reports as an intent to raise prices when demand is highest at our restaurants. We have no plans to do that and would not raise prices when customers are visiting us the most. So the story Wendy's is going with is that yes, they were going to do dynamic prices and change the value of menu items throughout the day, but they were only going to lower them. It was all actually just about offering deals to people. They were never at any point going to charge anybody more. And you know, if you really expect me to believe that, why would you not call it I don't know, dynamic deals, dynamic discounts, dare I say. As Yahoo points out, dynamic pricing and surge pricing are kind of hard to differentiate. Technically, surge pricing is a form of dynamic pricing. Sometimes outlets like Reuters say dynamic pricing refers to surge pricing. In other words, increasing the price based on demand, especially during peak hours of the day. So I guess I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not Wendy's just got misconstrued by every single media outlet on earth, or if they were really going to try surge pricing and then backtracked when everybody got mad at them. But the point remains, everybody's prices are terrible right now and nobody seems to know what to do about it. It applies to Starbucks and it applies to the fast food industry.
It was similar to the Disney story, but let me see if I can find it. One sec.
At large. Now, some of you may be wondering why I'm referring to Starbucks as part of the fast food industry. I mean, I think the official story is that they're like a cafe, but that kind of leads us to the second thing that the Wall Street Journal article that kicked it all off tells us. Starbucks isn't really doing a good job maintaining that cafe vibe. In fact, Starbucks is not doing a good job maintaining its vibes at all, as you're about to see. So I actually remember when Starbucks used to be seen as like cool. This is Reddit comment. Someone's like, do you guys remember in like 2004 when Starbucks was the coolest, trendiest place to be? And now it's basically McDonald's. How far they have fallen. Like, to be fair, Starbucks...
Sorry. Low key, I'm kind of being a I'm kind of tinfoiling a little bit. I tried to look it up on Google. And when I look this up on Google, nothing comes up. So for anyone who's hasn't heard about this, it's very similar to what Disney has done with Disney Plus. Most of you, I assume, have heard about this story. Disney backpedals on saying the man can't sue over his wife's death because he signed up for Disney Plus. Disney has backpedaled on its stance in a wrongful death suit filed by a widower whose wife died after having eaten in a restaurant in Disney World, now saying it will waive arbitration that it argued the man agreed to when he signed up for Disney Plus. The TLDR is that if you signed up for Disney Plus, you waived away your right to arbitration. You waived away your right to, basically sue Disney. And they finally backpedaled on it because they realized how dog shit it looked. And how, this was a free trial, by the way. Not great optically. Now, give me 2 seconds. I found the link. I'm kind of tinfoiling a little bit because I Googled it. I Googled this same thing that happened with McDonald's. And McDonald's wouldn't pull anything up for me. So I type in, let's see if it works. I typed in arbitration and the web page kept crashing. Oh, okay, it stopped. Google must be listening in on me. I typed in arbitration and it crashed. And I was like, that's weird. And then I open a new tab for Google. I do the same thing and then it crashed again. And then I was like, let me open an incognito tab. And then it crashed again. And I was like, well, let me try just Googling what I Googled in first. And then it didn't crash. And I used DuckDuckGo. And it didn't crash, which is concerning. That it was crazy that I had to Google it 3 times on Google and it refused to give me what I wanted. And I had to go to DuckDuckGo. Listening to me, are you, Google? Anyways, McDonald's new terms and conditions have people deleting the app. Practically everyone has clicked agree on the terms and conditions that they didn't read through. Unfortunately, the latest terms and conditions for using the McDonald's app contain many customer-affecting changes, updates to McDonald's liability in case of injury, third-party errors, app malfunctioning, and waivers for a customer's right to a jury trial or class action lawsuit, and agreement to solve disputes through a strict arbitration process, especially the new terms that state if a customer, for example, tried to sue over hot coffee, they could not take their case to trial. The customer must notify the company their intent to seek arbitration, meet with the company to discuss the problem, and only then have an arbitrator enter the equation. As you can imagine, this process eliminates decision-making by a dozen jurors instead of giving the single arbitrator discretion in deciding the outcome. The very nature of arbitration process makes class action nearly impossible, meaning each customer has to file their own dispute with McDonald's. And this came right off the back of their free fries. McDonald's is giving away free fries if you use their mobile app, and then they're updating the terms and conditions to say that if you use this app, you waive your right to trial in any class action lawsuits and have to do mandatory arbitration. Free fries Friday. Get a free medium fries with any $1 minimum purchase only in the McDonald's app. New terms and condition, which say, I agree. I am agreeing to a legally binding contract which includes the binding arbitration provision. I reviewed and agreed to McDonald's terms and conditions. Cool. 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 My life for fries? I'll consider it. I don't think this is legal, TBH. It is. It absolutely is legally binding. It is absolutely legally binding to agree to arbitration-only terms. And so long as there is, what's the term? Basically, you give money over, so it makes the contract binding. Oh, man, my law professors would be so mad at me. Consideration. Thank you. The dollar purchase with your free fries would count as consideration. So you're agreeing to the contract. It's definitely legally binding.
Starbucks did not used to feel like fast food. I think it was a cafe through and through. They had the funky furniture, it had the nice atmosphere. But seeing as Starbucks has lately taken to ripping out all of the furniture from its stores and just leaving them as these empty floors, basically, I don't know if it's happening anywhere else.
To be fair, this was, I'm not gonna... A big reason why a lot of companies removed all their furniture was because of COVID. However, most companies brought the seating back after COVID disappeared. Obviously, COVID is still a risk, but yeah.
But several Starbucks near me have renovated and they just removed all tables and it's order only. I just stopped going since there's no room to work there anymore. A lot of students and remote workers were regulars. It's pretty safe to say Starbucks has gone all in the fast food route, which is actually kind of sad when you think about it. Like, the way in which Starbucks was cool was by design. It was literally supposed to be a place where you could hang out, have fun. Starbucks referred to the concept of a third place. And so that was a third place that wasn't home or work. It was Starbucks. So you could meet a friend, you could get some work done, you could be social and not get blasted by like demonically cold AC while they play the loudest music you've ever heard. And now in some Starbucks, you can't even sit down at all. So the concept of this third place is like 11th place. A major shift at Starbucks is changing its personality, says CNN. God, there are just so many Starbucks think pieces that came out this year. Years ago, some people would spend hours at Starbucks. Today, it's a takeout counter. At many Starbucks locations, you're lucky to find anyone sitting down. And so part of the reason they've gone down this route is they're trying to prioritize mobile ordering and their drive-thru, which I guess makes sense because these two formats apparently make up more than 70% of Starbucks' sales. It's very clear that many Starbucks locations just want you to get in and then get out. That way they can serve the next person, thus pulling out the comfortable chairs and replacing them with hard wooden stools, etc. Or the pickup only stores, like that one person got all their Starbucks turned into. And so this guy who was Starbucks' CEO until he very recently was replaced, we'll get into all that later, he said third place is a broader definition. The classic definition of third place, it's a box where I go to meet someone. It's frankly not relevant anymore in this context. I guess y'all's sales aren't relevant anymore in this context either, because it goes on to say how they're dropping. But yeah, this is a whole thing. Reimagining the third place, how Starbucks is evolving its store experience. Starbucks dropped this whole backstory trying to make it sound like a good thing, that they are no longer a place to sit down and enjoy yourself. They're elevating experiential convenience. The third place has never been defined solely by a physical space. It's also the feeling of warmth, connection, a sense of belonging. Starbucks. Are y'all missing a word here? Or digital technology is helping augment and extend that feeling of connection with customers, whether they are in Starbucks stores, in their cars, on their doorsteps. Listen, I know people throw around the word dystopia too often, but we've got companies out here trying to convince us that digital technology is helping augment and extend the feeling of warmth. I'll tell you one way digital technology is not contributing to the vibes at Starbucks. So the cafe chain is already kind of infamous for its somewhat long wait times, and it's not the fault of the baristas who are working as hard as they can, but rather Starbucks just leaving people understaffed. But this is all getting more complex in recent years because people are on TikTok and they're basically in a competition to see who can create the most elaborate Starbucks drink for some reason. And I don't just mean the things Starbucks offers, like a whiskey barrel-aged cold brew, but rather the 170,000 other possible configurations of Starbucks drinks that you could actually ask for. TikTok fans brew even more complicated orders at Starbucks. Social media influencers take customized drinks to new extremes. Baristas find it a bit exhausting. So we're talking things like a venti cold brew with caramel syrup and vanilla sweet cream cold foam, apple brown sugar syrup, apple in the foam, and cinnamon dulce on top. And once again, this is
back when I used to go to Starbucks, I felt like an asshole for like asking for a drizzle. I used to feel like an asshole ordering like a frap and being like, could I get like a caramel drizzle on that? I'm sorry. I can go kill myself if that makes it better. Sorry. Just like, please. Okay. Sorry. I can leave. I can leave. The idea, it makes my anxiety flare up. The idea of someone going into a Starbucks and be like, yes, can I get a venti cold brew with caramel syrup, vanilla sweet cream foam, apple brown sugar, apple in the foam, cinnamon dolce on top. Please add some sprinkles on that as well. I'm also looking for a matcha foam in there. It's like my heart is hurting. I'm gonna die of heart failure just thinking about it. I only order things that are on the menu, and I allow myself to ask for one extra special thing. That's it. Okay? One. Okay?
Representative of things that are going on in the larger fast food sphere. People are out here trying to do custom menu stuff at Chick-fil-A, McDonald's with a Snickers iced coffee with chocolate syrup, chocolate caramel syrup, whipped cream, and 2 caramel drizzles. And it got to the point where Starbucks said they were trying to increase staffing to handle the influx of labor-intensive drinks. They had to put out like training videos. It was slowing down service. But here's the part where it actually gets kind of sus. One of these influencers said she was actually getting paid by Wendy's and McDonald's to make or promote TikTok videos featuring their food. Wendy's, always having to defend themselves for some reason, was like, no, we gave her gift cards and food deliveries, but she wasn't compensated as a paid partner. McDonald's didn't say anything at all, which is interesting. And so I'm not accusing Starbucks specifically of like launching this campaign.
The way my anxiety flares up if someone starts talking about ordering pizza with half and half toppings. Are you insane? Yeah. Yeah.
And to try to get people in the store. Though I am always wary of any sort of internet trend that results in a lot of people purchasing one product while not realizing that it feels like advertising. But regardless, between Wendy's and McDonald's, I just see this as another example of fast food companies causing their own problems. Like, you're going to be short-staffed and encourage a bunch of extra work for your employees that are working there. Pick a struggle. But anyway, between the long wait times and the missing furniture and the fact that Starbucks is basically fast food, you can see just how off the vibes were. So off, in fact, that Howard Schultz, probably one of Starbucks' most prominent former CEOs and the person who was at the helm during their massive expansion, he hopped on the Acquired podcast to share his feelings about how Starbucks is going, and it's interesting to say the least.
And everyone who ordered on their app, it says the same thing. Your drink's going to be ready in 7 minutes. And everyone shows up, and all of a sudden we got a mosh pit, and that's not Starbucks.
When you've got the man who is synonymous with Starbucks saying Starbucks is no longer Starbucks, it's not looking good for Starbucks. Take a shot every time I say Starbucks. A shot of espresso. By the time the video is over, you'll be able to like read ancient Latin or something. He was mad though.
Oh man.
He was big mad.
If the mobile orders were like such a godsend for me. Again, back when I lived in New York and I used to go to Starbucks, there was a Starbucks on the way to my train station. It was a 10-minute walk from where I was. So I would order it on my phone. I would go on that walk. And by the time I finished my walk, my drink was ready. And it was great. And then mobile orders, like, they lost their swag, I feel like. Also, places that you go to where, like, you have to ask for the mobile order. It's like, but I got the mobile order, so I don't have to decide, so I can grab them.
Company is in a drift towards mediocrity. I hold leadership and the board responsible for that. And my letter was not accusatory.
So the letter in question was this really long LinkedIn rant. Starbucks announced earnings last week and unfortunately significantly missed shareholder expectations. And he goes on to explain how he has no formal role within Starbucks anymore. But my love of the company and all those who wear the cloth of the company, the iconic green apron, knows no bounds. But this letter is wild, y'all. At any company that misses badly, there must be contrition and renewed focus. Own the shortcoming without the slightest semblance of an excuse. Starbucks will recover. Of that, I am certain. Starbucks created an industry that did not exist. The brand is one of the most recognized and respected, and my brother in Christ, it is literally Starbucks. So he says US operations are the primary reason for the company's fall from grace. Senior leaders need to spend more time with those who wear the green apron. Reinvent the mobile ordering and payment platform.
This is really funny. This all makes sense because I actually took part in a one-on-one Zoom survey with like a Starbucks rep that in part asked my opinion on what I would feel if Starbucks changed their locations into a concept that the surveyor showed me. The concept completely removed the inside sit-down area and turned the store essentially into a walk-up counter and drive-through with a few shaded seats outside on a fake lawn. Part 2 of 2, I told the surveyor that if the company did go in this direction, it would directly impact their entire identity that they had built up of being a place to go hang out and relax with chill music and good coffee. I tried to impress upon them that there would most likely be backlash to something as drastic as this corpo-driven vibe change. Apparently, they chose to roll the dice. I got $100 for my time, though, LOL. This was about 3 years ago. Dude, that's sick. Plus $100, easy clap. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. So I have seen like Starbucks locations that are, it's just a booth that you go walk up to and order and there's no seating. Maybe they have like a little patio area where there's like 2 tiny tables and that's it. But it's basically just the inside is just for the baristas making the drinks in there. That's it. And I think adding those makes sense because there was a period of like peak Starbucks time where every Starbucks was filled with people that were just walking in, grabbing something and leaving. That seems like one of those things that you don't change the current seating. You add new Starbucks locations that are just pickup locations and that's it. You don't change what people already have and like. You can add tiny little like Starbucks pickup spots. Because people hate when they feel like something is being taken away from them. Here's some locations that are like in Seattle that it's just like a pickup location, like what you're talking about. Yeah, there are a few I've seen that are in LA that are like this, where some of the ones I've seen, there might even be like a table or 2 outside for people that might maybe like need to sit down for a second, but there's no seating. It's just like enough space for the workers to make your little fucking coffee or whatever. And that's it. And it's also a drive-through. If you want to walk in, you can walk in, grab it. It's just a booth. Literal containers. That's business, baby. Efficiency. Yeah, so I've seen these. That makes more sense than changing current Starbucks locations.
Which Starbucks pioneered.
This is where you go to drop off photos to develop.
Overhaul and elevate their go-to-market strategy with coffee-forward innovation, which is exactly what I was going to say Starbucks needs to do. But it turns out all the people in the LinkedIn comment section are like, no, actually, maybe you should just lower your godforsaken prices. It's so funny because I have never seen like a LinkedIn comment section get lit before. Why would a consumer buy a $4 to $7 coffee at Starbucks when they can go to a craft coffee shop and get higher quality coffee for the same price? American executives are out of touch with what customers want. This is not a problem with the consumer experience. It's a problem with pricing. Howard, respectfully, why should I pay upwards of $5 for a coffee I can brew on my home unit? And everyone's like, maybe you should just go back to the 3rd place and make Starbucks somewhere people actually enjoy going. Also, since we're roasting Howard Schultz, can I just point out Starbucks union fight intensifies? Like under this man's leadership, Starbucks was trying so hard to like bust their union. The union has filed dozens of complaints accusing the company of firing workers seeking to organize, and Schultz called the union a vocal minority trying to drive a wedge between the company and its workers. I wouldn't think I would have to explain anything about business to a billionaire, but actually a union is when your workers are trying to be treated fairly and give themselves some agency. And
yeah, the boycotting of the unions is when I really stopped my egregious consumption of Starbucks. And I was like, well, I try to go to unionized places only at this point because, like, fuck this. And then all the Palestine stuff and everything else. And I'm just like, well, time to just drink pre-workout for caffeine every morning instead. Which is what I do now. I just scoop half of a scoop of pre-workout, add it to some water, which is I take a basin of water and add it to the pre-workout, which is like 100 milligrams of caffeine, about one coffee. And it's actually very cost efficient because like the pre-workout I get makes me feel really good. It's I don't really get the tingles off of it because I don't have enough of it because it's just half a scoop. And I think that there's like 100 servings in there or more maybe, and it's $50. So I'm straight up having like 50-cent coffees in the morning, which is pretty sick. And I like the flavor. I like the caffeine hit. I like the drop the brand. It's I don't remember what the brand is. I don't remember. Isn't one coffee 40 milligrams of caffeine? I'm gonna hold your hand when I no.
I'm pretty sure the only wedge Schultz is worried about is between him and his money,
milligrams.
which is why he doesn't want to pay people. He doesn't want people to have the power to argue for more wages. But no, it's the union that's bad. So he like nitpicks individual instances of behavior. Meanwhile, according to CNN, Starbucks itself is literally violating federal labor law by withholding pay hikes from unionized workers. Starbucks workers unions sue each other in standoff over pro-Palestinian social media posts. Starbucks violated labor laws by firing employees because they were pro-union, labor judge rules. And so I would describe that as another just pretty awful vibe from Starbucks, if you know what I mean. But yeah, speaking of CEOs, we had Schultz, right? And then we had a guy who came after him. Not the new guy who everyone's concerned, but the one who was in between. The one who said the third place is no longer appropriate to the context or whatever. Laxman Narasimhan. He posed with his workers. He wore an apron and smiled. He was outside, I guess, looking at a singular coffee bean. Like, I'm sorry, but this puff piece Starbucks released for him when he joined is so funny to me. First sip, he's listening and learning, buddying it up with Schultz over here. He earned his apron. This is the kind of smile that you could only have in fast food if you don't actually work in fast food and you're just gonna go to your $1 million CEO job after this. But yeah, Laxman's just a guy. He's just a genuine guy. But then like the moment he finished his press tour and he actually started working, Starbucks pretty much died immediately. Like obviously Starbucks is fine and it's not all this man's fault, but their stock prices were taking a nosedive. So he got asked about it in an interview and it is so, maybe you should just watch it. So remember how I said Starbucks had to revise their projections? In other words, they thought they were going to make a certain amount, but then people didn't buy enough coffee and they had to go back and be like, oh, just kidding. Well, this is Laxman Narasimhan being asked about that on CNBC.
And I appreciate that you're coming on, despite the fact that the quarter was extremely weak.
I love this is Mad Money, right? I fucking Kramer, dude. I fucking love Kramer. I love Kramer the way that I love Asmongold. It's just insane. It's just fucking insane person, and you put a camera in front of them.
Jim, it was a very tough quarter.
When I tell you that this man just drags him, Starbucks, everything related to Starbucks to absolute filth.
Well, I'd like to know why you did not feel the need to come out and say our quarter is going to be substantially worse than expected at least 4 weeks ago.
I think, Jim, we've been working on action plans.
That's going to be my new go-to anytime anybody asks me about anything. Like, hey, I thought
we're working on new action plans, okay? We're working on
We're gonna take the trash out. Well, actually, I've been working on action plans for a more coffee-forward approach to trash.
I checked with all the major, both public and private companies that are in a similar business to you, and no one saw a 3% decline in comp stores because of weather, and none of them saw a negative number except for you. Is it possible that your coffee is just too darn expensive?
Yeah, he's mad. He's mad. I feel like this interview happened 3 months ago, and I don't know what we were doing 3 months ago, but
and maybe I'm totally out of pocket here. I don't really study fucking Starbucks or their financials or whatever, but I feel like a big reason why Starbucks really popped off was like their wacky, crazy frappuccinos, and they were constantly releasing new frappuccino flavors, aka like sugar milkshakes, and that's it, aka sugary beverages, ice cream milkshakes. What are the ice cream shakes? Yes. Like they had the unicorn frap. Do you guys remember that? That was like peak Starbucks. And people went there and they enjoyed the experience so much. They also sometimes got the coffee, so they didn't care that the coffee was expensive. And now, when was the last frap flavor they introduced? You guys remember mermaid fraps or whatever? I feel like they really lost what made them big.
I feel like this should have gone viral. But anyway, needless to say, Mr. Narasimhan was not able to save Starbucks, not even by naming his plan to get them out of the dirt. Triple shot reinvention with 2 pumps. I'm gonna be honest, you deserve to be fired just over that. I only make this joke because I'm sure he made enough money during his brief time as CEO to be fine. He was trying, but no. Thus enter Brian Nicole, who was actually the CEO of Chipotle. So according to the New York Times, this man has been the CEO of Chipotle since 2018. And next month, he's going to be moving directly to Starbucks as the CEO. And Laxman barely made it over a year. So I don't know much about Chipotle, but I feel like people's perception of it during this man's tenure were not like the strongest. But nevertheless, if you like what Chipotle has done over the past 6 years, I'm sure you'll love whatever Brian Nicole is going to do with Starbucks. But what many people did not love was the offer letter. It wound up getting posted publicly on a government website, and it's kind of hard to read. But Bloomberg summed it up, and he's getting $113 million. When you add up this man's base salary and his bonus and his whatever else. And, you know, part of me feels like complaining about, oh no, our money, while paying somebody $100 million to do a job sort of dilutes your dilemma a little bit. But oh, it gets worse, because the offer letter also revealed that he doesn't even have to move to Seattle, aka Starbucks' headquarters, and instead he can just travel the 1,000 miles there on a corporate jet. They are just going to fly this man up and down the country, I guess whenever he needs to. And according to the New York Times, this is apparently a thing. Wells Fargo CEO is in New York and commutes regularly to San Francisco. Bumble's CEO is commuting from Massachusetts to Texas. Remote work for CEOs is one of the tools you can use to recruit a new CEO who might not be willing to relocate to the company's headquarters. Imagine getting paid $100 million, but still being too lazy to actually move to receive it. Not even $100 million.
They have all that money because they work so hard.
$1 million is enough to slightly inconvenience you. You take the money and just wreck the environment so you can have more fun at home, I guess. And maybe I'm biased because I do work from home, but I just feel like a 1,000-mile corporate jet commute is a bit overkill. CNN, Starbucks is giving its new CEO a private jet to commute between his California home and Seattle office. Do not ever try to tell me that this is a wages issue. Like, it's this person's wages. How in the world are you going to effectively blame your baristas when you are actually burning money for no discernible reason? Ooh, but the minimum wage is like, nah, miss me with that. Jet travel, whether via large commercial jet or small private jet, is a major source of carbon emissions. 800 million tons of CO2, more than 2% of global energy-related emissions.
Yay!
So this is why people were looking at Starbucks' new CEO like, man, what is going on here? I saw a lot of people pointing out how hypocritical it feels, because Starbucks sure does seem excited to let us know how environmentally friendly they are. We're driving innovation at scale to achieve our 2030 targets. Now, here's your 2024 target. Shush. Oh, but guys, they have plant-based menu options. They have an environmental and social impact reporting hub. Are you reporting the part with the potential thousands of miles of corporate jet usage? Or people were also pointing out that it's kind of ridiculous that no other person at Starbucks has the ability to work remotely from a different state. Not even the baristas, but the white collar workers. Everyone else has to be in office 3 days a week. And then just the salary in the first place people took issue with. Starbucks' new CEO will reportedly land a pay package that is almost 8,000 times the pay of the median Starbucks employee.
He's working 8,000 times harder than the median average employee. Just leave him alone. He's literally neurodivergent and a billionaire.
Last year, he raked in over $20 million, over 1,000 times the pay of a Chipotle employee. How come we never talk about CEO pay when we talk about rising prices? Because obviously, it makes more sense to blame the people without whom your company would literally not exist and you wouldn't be able to make $100 million anyway. Clearly, the baristas are at fault here. Also, you know, when The Guardian tells us that the richest 1% account for more carbon emissions than 2/3 of everybody else, polluter elites are plundering the planet to the point of destruction. They say eat the rich, and you know what? At least it would be cheaper than Starbucks. Anyway, my verdict on all of this is that we live in a society. Also, is Starbucks even good? Because I've never actually had it. I don't know if I've just become more educated on good coffee or if they've changed the product, but their coffee doesn't taste good. I refuse to pay that much for coffee that often tastes burned and has to have a ton of stuff added to it so it's drinkable. I've been to Starbucks, but I don't really drink coffee, so I wouldn't know good coffee if it coffeeed me in the face. So I guess you'll have to tell me if it's really worth all of that or if it's just too mid to justify the price. But either way, that's my take on the situation. Dave's take on the situation is that he's really more of a tea guy, and I'm excited to hear your take. I mean, this is the part of the video where a layman would ask you to subscribe, leave a like, and comment on the video, but I will ask you to enroll, evaluate the video, and submit your feedback. Because I am, of course, running a 100% totally, completely, all the way, mostly accredited slightly university. Just ask anybody in the student body. We're totally legit. Maybe not legally, but you know. And as for me, whether you'll see me in 24 hours or 24 months is honestly anyone's guess. But until then, thanks for watching. Your homework for today is to drink water.
Drink water. Got it. As an old Big B coffee barista, I can confirm that the companies burn the shit out of their beans. Starbucks is the worst. They add more sugar in their drinks. Yep. I'm gonna be honest, I got like really into coffee. I found like a local place that I guess like bakes the beans, and I get the coffee, and I was getting the coffee fresh, and I got one of those really nice coffee grinders. I was like treated myself. I was like, wow. And then I got over the whole coffee thing. And I've kind of like reverted back to like my Arab roots in liking Nescafe instant coffee. Reported. Just so you guys know, this is a hate crime. Anyone here shitting on instant coffee, this is a hate crime. This is a hate crime against Arab people everywhere. Okay? Nobody gives a shit about anyone's coffee preferences. Rude. I'll have you know, my mommy cares about my coffee preferences very much. Okay? Sorry that nobody cares about you in your life.